So we're actually at the halfway point of this challenge, and I feel like I'm finally starting to really, enjoy using this palette. It seems a little bit backwards than it was last year and the year before, but I actually had some really great progress on one of the palettes, so I'm going to actually start with my Urban Decay Naked palette first for this month's update, and I will go ahead and insert last month's progress right now. And this is what my Urban Decay Naked palette looks like after using it for 4 months. And this is what my palette looks like after 5 months of use. So let's address the 2 new shadows that are at the bottom of the palette. It is magnetic, so these just kind of stick on here, which I do like, but at last month's update I did mention that I was taking some of the shadow out of Dark Horse and mixing it in with a lighter yellowy green color, and this is what the shade that I came up with looks like. It actually looks really pretty. I do have it on the outer corner of my eyes today, and the entire look that I'm wearing, essentially if you're curious about anything that's on my face, I'm pretty much wearing the exact same makeup that I wore in my Get Ready With Me, my makeup for the week. So I'll put that down in the description box. I think it's either the last video or 2 videos before this, but I'll link that down there for you. But I do have this one on the eyes. Let me give you a little swatch of it. I did hit pan on it too. I put on my Instagram the kind of the pressing process and everything, so if you were curious about seeing that is the green color right there. I think it turned out pretty nice actually, so I really like wearing this at the outer corner. It just kind of gives a different look for the Naked palette. I think I mixed it with Sidecar today. But anyway, back to this other one over here. This is a mixture of kind of a really light, pale, muted green color and the blue one, Gunmetal, over here. So they do look kind of similar, but this is much lighter and it almost has like a muted taupiness to it. Do you see that? Like, it's such a strange color, but I kind of like it. That is a swatch of it there, and I think it was Amber F that mentioned that it looks a lot like Pistol from the Naked 2 palette, and that's actually my favorite shimmer shade out of the Naked 2. So anyway, I hit pan on Sidecar this past month, and I feel like there's a decent amount of pan in that one. I do have this all over the lid today, and then I also hit pan on Toasted as well, so I was pretty happy about that. I did widen the pan of Virgin, Sin, and Naked quite a bit out of those 3. I would say Sin probably has the most pan showing from last month. Like, you can see the biggest difference on Sin right there. I did notice something kind of odd, but I guess it's not really that surprising. I have pan on these first 4 shades, I don't have pan in the middle 4, and then I also have pan on the last 4. And definitely I gravitate towards more cooler tone shadows or shades. So, I mean, these 4 in the middle are pretty warm toned. I mean, I never reach for golds if it's not in a palette that I'm panning. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that there's pan on the first 4, the last 4, and none in the middle. So I'll work on the ones that are in the middle, but I was really excited to have pan on Sidecar. Buck actually has a pretty decent dip in there. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to pick up on that, but I thought I might be able to hit pan on this, but I stopped using this one as a face contour because I'm using my NYX blush in taupe and trying to work through that this year. So I've just been using Buck as a shadow, so it really doesn't have a ton of progress in there. I used Half Baked a handful of times, Smog a couple times. Dark Horse has a much bigger dip in it because that was the one that was used for repressing this green color here. I think I did a look with purple eyeliner, so I think I do have a couple looks. So I'll insert them when it's appropriate and when I'm referring to those specific shades. But Toasted I used quite a bit as just kind of like the outer lid area color. I'm not the biggest fan of having Toasted all over the lid, but I mean, I'm not opposed to it either. I did widen the pan just slightly in Hustle. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the year, if I just hit pan on Dark Horse and Hustle and the rest of it is finished, I'd be just fine with tossing out the palette. I really have no intention of using up these 2 because they're just so muddy on my eyes and they're hard to blend out. So anyway, there's those. I have a little bit more pan in Creep, which is the black one, and Slate obviously looks entirely different. So yeah, that is what my Naked palette is looking like. I'm pretty pleased with the progress on this one for this past month. So now we can move on to the second palette that I'm trying to pan out this year, and it is the Urban Decay Feminine palette. So I will go ahead and insert last month's progress update on this one right here. And this is what my Urban Decay Feminine palette looks like after using it for 4 months. And this is what my feminine palette looks like currently. I definitely have a little bit more of the pan showing in Bordello. I really didn't use this palette as much as I used the Naked palette, but for June I'm going to focus on some of the brighter shades out of here and really see if I can come up with some more vibrant looks. I really have to use these shadows wet to, you know, build up the color. They're quite sheer on their own, all of them really except for Lost. You're not going to see any progress on Gunmetal here because it's a duplicate from both palettes, so this one you're not going to see anything. It's just going to be out of these 5 that are shown here. I also ended up repressing Skimp right there, and I haven't hit the pan again yet on it, but I'm sure I'll hit it in no time. I used that one today for the inner corner brightening instead of Virgin from the Naked palette, but they essentially look the same on the eyes. This one might be a little bit more brightening than Virgin, but the shade Hijack has a little bit more pan as well, and like I said, these are really sheer. Like, I really have to pack these on the lid. Like, it looks like it has a lot of pigment, but it is 2 passes of Hijack, and you can see it's very sheer, so I can't quite recall if they've always been this sheer or if it's just because I've had this palette around for a really long time. I did hit pan on Hijack, so that was exciting. I mostly just wear this one with the gold out of the Naked palette. The shade Half Baked, that's what it's called. So I combine these two together. I actually did an update video where I combined these two and they looked really pretty together. I feel like the only way that I'm going to get through that gold shade is by combining these two together. Look how pretty they look. So as far as my goals for next month, I want to hit pan on Lost and then hit pan on Skimp again. So I was saving my cream shades and my lighter colors for later in the year, but I just figured now's the time to use them. I've been reaching for other shadows and I could have been, you know, panning these ones out. So I'm gonna start just using the cream colors and the champagne shades and all the lighter ones and just use them to death and finish them off, because I usually prefer those shades over something else, like a super dark eye. As far as a goal for my Naked palettes, I think I want to see how much of the top part of Sidecar that I can use up, because I used a ton of it and it looks kind of gross in there because I do use it wet. I use my MAC Fix Plus in there to apply it to the lids to kind of prevent the glitter fallout and stuff. So I definitely want to see how much of the top part of Sidecar that I can use, and I want to see if I can hit pan on Half Baked. That sounds insane, but I think if I'm using it like 3 or 4 times a week, I think that I might be able to hit pan on it. Obviously, if I'm burrowing straight down into the shadow, I could hit pan on it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try. So I'm hopefully gonna have some pan in that center third of the shadows in here. So anyway, I think that's it. I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about and mention. So I really do appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.